Gini Graham Scott is right here with us at YoIndiaTV studios because she's going to be one of the leading speakers at TechBeat Conference 2023, which is going to happen at the very happening Black Hawk Museum in Danville on June 22nd. While I know that all the techies and all the youngsters who are much into robotics and some cool stuff will be there, we have some very interesting things coming up with this very special American author, filmmaker, director and whatnot. And let's learn about Ginny's journey in the next few minutes with us. So welcome Ginny to YoIndiaTV with me, Jasleen Khanuja. And what's the latest and the greatest?
Oh, the latest and the greatest is we just finished a film called The AI Revolution. And it's going to be in editing now. And basically what we're going to be doing is interviewing people, or we have interviewed people, about how AI is affecting their life. And it's really been revolutionary. It's like the information age. Now we're into the AI age.
That's amazing, And as I was going through your profile, I was really touched because you've been doing a phenomenal work since I think many decades now. And I happen to write a few lines about you, and if you may permit me, I can go ahead and say that in your honor.
Yes, thank you.
To bring scenes and scenarios. To bring scenes and scenarios as imagined in a storyline and present in a manner which appears real and fine, is an art to breathe and to live to it as audience perceives the wonder through it. Creativity upheaval via inner force, capturing serene and devil with no room for remorse. Yes, we have today with us the perfectionist, creative writer and filmmaker Gini Graham Scott, whose scripts span across a variety of genres like crime, drama, suspense, thriller, sci-fi, and so on.
Right. They're definitely are a lot of different genres. And we've also doing documentaries too.
So tell us a little background about yourself, like how you got into creative writing.
Well, I've been doing this, over 30 years, and I guess I started off just writing. I got a Ph.D. in Sociology, and while I was in school, I started noticing, different things, and I started writing proposals, and my first dissertation got published. I did a research on a witchcraft group and a spiritual growth group, and I compared it, and that was my first book that got published, and that was back in 1987.
Wonderful. And since then there has been a remarkable change in technology. Technology is one such thing that strictly follows that philosophy, that change is the constant law of nature. I think it changes most rapidly, and people in Silicon Valley are adopting, and it's really surprising that you are one of those from that generation who has been into technology and who is able to adopt AI and make it to your advantage. So tell us a little more about that.
Sure. Well, AI is very controversial among writers and artists. A lot of writers feel like, and artists feel like they're losing their work because people can go to ChatGPT and generate ideas. But I find it more a tool to work with. And so I've developed, in the last 6 months, I've been working with it. I have a Facebook group that I created called The AI Revolution, which is inspired by the film we're doing. And one of the things that I found with it is that I can come up with lots of creative ideas from it. I still have to tweak them. Like I've done about 150 songs with one person. And recently I started doing 15 songs that I got ideas that I would put into ChatGPT and it would come out with a song. And I still have to edit it and tweak it. But, it gave me a lot of creative ideas to work with.
So, like, sometimes it's very hard for, people who are of a certain age, they just think like, traditionally we have lived with this, and, it's very hard for them to get over some of those conventional ideas that they have been thriving with. So, how did you overcome that resistance? Because everyone would be really pleased to hear that age is not a barrier.
Well, I've never been resistant to any new change. And I mean, when you think about, how computers developed going back and, 30, 40 years ago, and, now we take that for granted. We take phones for granted. There's all kinds of technologies that we adjust to. And I think you have to do that. So I've always been kind of on the forefront of things throughout my whole life.
That's awesome. And coming to your songs, like I see there are so many songs with dog themes in country, gospel, pop, folk, and novelty genres, that's really spanning across a lot of variety. What's your inspiration?
Well, some of the dog songs go back to, in 1996, I went to a dog show. And one of the things I noticed is some people there would be, you have different breeds of dogs, and the people had, sort of looked like their dogs in many cases. And I wrote a book called Do You Look Like Your Dog? And I still have a website by that same name. And that led me to think about dogs' personality, and then I started writing songs about it. I have one song called Do You Look Like Your Dog? And so I did a presentation recently about personality systems and how you can relate to the different types of dogs, like the German Shepherd is the leader, the Pomeranian is the social people person. And so you have all these kind of parallels. And so I wrote the song about these different types of dogs and personality.
So tell me a little more about your books. I think you have written over 150 books.
It's about 200 at this point, and I also work as a ghostwriter, so I write a lot of books for other people. But the ideas come from my experiences in life. For example, I have a series of books on scams, and because I discovered a scam as a result of being a ghostwriter. They wanted me to write all these materials that are legitimate materials as a ghostwriter for turning a book into a film. And how do you pitch people? However, what I discovered is they had phony executives representing a company, and so I would write these things that were legitimate, but they didn't go anywhere. And I discovered that in talking to somebody. So that became the book called The Big Con, which was turned into a film called Conned.
You want to talk about the books you have today with?
Yes. I've been exploring different kinds of technologies with Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, ChatGPT, different ways of creating images and writing. And so I did a series of books where I would put in prompts on Midjourney, and then now I use Night Cafe. And so this was spectacular sports. And what I did is I imagined different kinds of sports with like penguins on bicycles or baseball, golf, and then I would see what kind of image came up. I don't know if you can see these. Do you want to look at these? Yeah. So monkeys racing through the vines, rabbits on a race, chimpanzee tennis. So these were like animals doing different kinds of sports, bear bowling. And then I had also ones with humans doing sports. So this one is lawn mower derby with people on lawnmowers racing. And then I did another one, ghostwriting, where I had different ways of ghostwriting things. Do you have a book you'd like to write or publish, turn into a film, and a ghostwriter
looks
can
very
make
cool.
it happen? So there are images of that I got from AI about how I could do ghostwriting. So I've been doing a lot of different books using that, and some of the ones are just being published. I have one of a person walking a dog, and there are 40 different ways of which you can look at it, different styles. So there's a cubist version, a surreal version, a photo version. There's like 40 different platforms with Night Cafe.
Awesome. That's really breathtaking. And I'm sure people at the conference will also be amazed by your wonderful work, this is like something really different. Yeah. And I also heard that you were at the American Toy Fair.
Yeah, I used to be very active as a game designer, and I still do some things with communication games, but I had about 24 games on the market. And one of the ways this started out is when I was in my 20s, I had a boyfriend who was working with hypnosis, and I read about this satanic group that was in San Francisco. And so I went to one of the meetings. I met this person. He was working with hypnosis, and that actually led to my doing this witchcraft and spiritual growth book that I ended up doing my dissertation on. But anyway, he would lead me in hypnosis. We would go to Macy's toy department, and I would see all kinds of games. And then I started dreaming about games, and I did my first game. And then one thing led to another. I started a games group, the American Games Association. And so that led me to going around the country to make presentations to companies and showing them the games.
So tell me, like, the first instance, because you're from an era where computers were probably not there. You know, when you graduated from UC Berkeley in sociology, I don't think that was an era where the sophisticated computers were there. That came much later. So what was the first occasion you were drawn towards technology, and then subsequently, you know, through your games, through your books, through your films, you know, you've been always using technology in the best possible way you can, you know, so that's really smart, using the smart technology to your advantage. But what was that first moment when you said, yes, this is something I need to be open to?
Well, I think it goes back to about 1989, and I had an internship at. I've always been interested in crime and writing books, scripts about crime, but I had an internship at the DA's office in San Francisco, and one of the things we did, and then I also worked with a consumer group, and so when I worked with this consumer group, they were just in the very early stages of computers coming in, and so this my first experience of working with computers at that point. And so I started doing that and learning about computers early on. And then the other thing I started doing is I had been sending out mailings to get my first books published, and I turned it into a company where I would help people do this too. And so it wasn't on computers then, and then I met somebody doing mailings, the emails through the film industry. And so I started working with her, and we started doing emails for the first time to publishers and agents, and the company still exists. It's Publishers, Agents, Films, and we help people find publishers, agents, and film producers.
I think this is really the height of creativity as well, you know, because blending creativity with technology and, you know, diversifying it into so many different portfolios and domains that you've been working in, that's really remarkable. And I would like to hear more from you about your brand, Changemakers Publishing.
Oh, okay. Well, Changemakers Publishing is the brand that I use for publishing my own books. I have a subdivision of that called Changemakers Kids, because I've done about 20 books now for kids. And I've been using AI for illustrations from the kids' books recently, too. So the books are all a variety. I have about 50 books with traditional publishers, and most recently I have some books on ghostwriting that Waterside Productions is doing. But then these other books, like on scams, I have been doing through Changemakers Publishing, or I have a client with American Leadership Books, and so he's been publishing some of my books, but I print them up for him.
So a lot of your stories are into crime and suspense, and I saw some of your very nice videos on the YouTube. So tell us a little more about it, and how do you use technology in filmmaking?
Well, one of the ways we use technology in filmmaking is just the subject matter, where we have people being discussing how they used AI and ChatGPT and how it's changing their life. So my role in the production is more as the writer and as the person raising funds for our films. So I don't get into the technology that the producers and the directors are doing. They're off in LA, they're in New York. But I also have been using the technology to come up with databases services. For example, I just signed up for a service that uses technology to find reporters or editors or broadcasters in a particular field. So then I'm going to be sending out emails on behalf of clients and myself to those media people. So in the sense, I've used AI for that. Then I also will be using our next film, and maybe through AI, I can help to find funding for it, because that's one of the roles that I do. Our next film is going to be based on a book that we've done, Love and Sex in Prison, that I did for one of my clients. And so we hope to, there's about 200,000 women in the United States have relationships with prisoners. And they find them as pen pals, or they stand by their man who, after their boyfriend or husband is imprisoned. And there's support groups for women. So we're looking for people who might want to help support our films, and our budgets are around $40,000 for documentaries, $70,000 to $100,000 for feature films. A lot of the budget depends on the actors. If you get A-list actors, that's the big cost of films.
Today, I was just a pissed off white guy ranting into my cell phone. I didn't think anybody was listening. Now I hear this is going out on 8 different sites. So, if you're fucking pissed off, then come to Washington and be a voice for pissed off America.
This is ridiculous. You and your stupid friends are going to jail.
I would like to hear from you. What's your message to all the viewers of YoIndiaTV who are also looking forward to you being as a speaker at TechBeat Conference 2023 in Danville?
Well, I think for people who are thinking about it, and I haven't used this technology, as a user of technology, you don't really have to know very much about the technology, exactly how it works, because they make it really easy for you. Mm-hmm. And many companies are now using templates that they have. For example, if you want to put a particular style, some companies will say, you just click on this button and you can choose that style. So you don't have to know a whole lot as somebody who's going to be a user of this technology. So it's not something to be frightened of. I mean, I know that people who are in technology know a huge amount about it, but you don't have to as a user.
Right. A lot of technologies are user-friendly, and resistance to change should definitely be not an impediment. They are very nice, smart technologies. They are there to help you. They are your friends. And to those of you who are less tech-friendly, this is a great example and inspiration. No one like Gini Graham Scott, who has made a remarkable change in her life, I would say, through technology in so many different creative fields, where she has reached a lot of people, quite many users and appreciators, fans. So thank you, Ginny, for being such an inspiration and for such an eye-opening talk today with YoIndiaTV, and look forward to having you on June 22nd in Danville for TechBeat Conference.
All right, thank you so much.